One candle every single day. And it is so stupid simple that I regret not learning this sooner. Because after trading for 9 years, I just made over $100,000 in a single month, and it was all because of this. This is called the first candle rule, and all you need in order to trade it is the first 5-minute candle of the day. Here's how it works. First, mark out the high and the low of the 5-minute candle that forms between 9:30 and 9:35 a.m. Eastern Time. Then, drop down to the 1-minute chart and wait for a break. Now, to confirm a good break, we need a specific type of behavior. And no, it is not a candle closure, and it's definitely not just a wick. What we're looking for is a fair value gap. This shows us that the big players are pushing the market, and we want to be on the same side of the market as them. Once this happens, we enter our trade and put our stop loss at the first candle that closed outside the range. And for your target, you just use a fixed 2-to-1 risk to reward. One candle, I used to second guess every single trade. But this strategy changed everything for me because it removes all guesswork, makes the decisions for me, and it works the same way every single day. It's called the first candle rule, and here's why it beats every other strategy that I've tried. Most strategies have you guessing about directional bias, checking multiple time frames, and drawing random lines all over your charts, but this strategy eliminates all of that noise because we just need to look for the first 5-minute candle of the day. And the reason why is because the first 5 minutes of the day contain the highest volume of the entire session. So we mark out the high and the low. And then after that, we drop down to a 1-minute chart to wait for a break of one of these levels. But we don't want to just see price break through the high or the low with the wick. What we need to see is a fair value gap to constitute of a break for this strategy. That gives us proof that the big players are pushing the market in that direction. You don't need to care about the higher time frames because it is not a concern for this strategy. All you do is trade with the fair value gap. And after it forms, you enter on the very next candle. Your stop goes below the candle that first broke out of the range, and we target a fixed 2-to-1 risk to reward. No overthinking, no overcomplicating, just executing on one simple strategy that works the same way every single day. It became easy when I realized that all you need is one candle to find consistent trades. Step 1 is to mark the high and the low of the first 5-minute candle of the day. This happens at 9:30 a.m. New York time. Step 2 is to go to the 1-minute chart and wait for a break. Now, to confirm a good break, we need a specific type of behavior. No, it is not a candle closure, and it's definitely not just a wick. What we're looking for is a fair value gap. Since the highest amount of volume in the entire day is in the first 5 minutes, if a fair value gap breaks out of this range, well then that shows us who is really in control of the market. Now step number 3 is just to place your stop at the candle that broke out of the range, and then we're going to target a 2-to-1 risk to reward, which means that we make twice as much on the winning trades as we lose on losing trades. And once you see this, you will never unsee it. Make sure to save this post, that way you can study it, because after you see how well this works, your mind will be blown. Fail you because you're looking at too many. The problem is you're checking the daily chart, the 4-hour, the 15-minute, trying to align everything perfectly, but here is how you're going to simplify it. First, forget about the higher time frames because, quite frankly, you don't need them. Just focus on this one thing. This is called the first candle rule, and let me walk you through the exact routine that you need to follow to execute it consistently. First things first, you're going to get to your desk right at 9:30 a.m. On the 5-minute chart, you'll wait for the first candle that forms between 9:30 and 9:35 a.m. to close. And believe it or not, this one candle is going to give you everything you need to trade. Because once that candle closes at 9:35, you're going to mark out the high and the low, and those are your key levels for the day. Next, you're going to drop down to the 1-minute chart. This is where we're going to find our entry. Now, here's where most people mess this up, and I want you to pay very close attention to make sure you get it right. When price approaches one of these levels, you don't just jump in. You need to see a very specific behavior. You're looking for price to break through your level and create a gap between the candle wicks. And not just a wick through the level, that doesn't count. Not just a candle close, that's not enough either. You need that gap formation because this tells us that the market is moving with real force. And as soon as you see that gap form, that is your confirmation to enter. Your stop goes at the first candle that closed outside the range, and your target is always 2-to-1 risk to reward. And trust me, when you follow this exactly as I'm showing you, the market does the heavy lifting for you. One candle to trade every single day, and it made me over $100,000 in a single month. But unlike most traders, I didn't use the higher time frames or complicated strategies. I just followed this one simple and repeatable method that takes less than an hour of work every single single day. Here is how it works. This is called the first candle rule, and it's literally the only strategy you'll ever need. Every morning at 9:30 a.m., draw 2 lines on your chart, the high and the low of the first 5-minute candle. Now, at 9:35 a.m., that first candle will close and a new one will start trading. So switch to your 1-minute chart and wait. Price will either go up through the high or down through the low. And when it breaks one of these levels, don't rush in. What we're waiting for is a fair value gap to appear, and that is when a strong candle leaves a gap between the wicks of the candles before it and the one after it. Now, if it doesn't form, then you have no trade. Next, you're going to enter and put your stop loss below the first candle that broke out of the range, and then we'll target a fixed 2-to-1 risk to reward. Finally, sit back and let the market do its job. Don't get greedy and take profits too early. Now, save this video, that way you can come back and study it again and again.